Shalom, shalom. Try that again. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Rabbi Hajioff, and I'm your entertainment for the evening and your speaker. So, a big thank you to Emmet. You know, I speak for organizations all over North America, and I must admit a little secret. Emmet is one of my most favorite organizations. The warmth and the care the staff put in to each and every one of you is unique. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to speak for about 25-30 minutes. Then I'm going to leave you with a question based upon what I spoke about, and you guys are going to discuss it at your tables and answer it to each other. Okay? So in order to do that, to have that discussion, you're going to have to listen very, very carefully. Okay, the topic that was chosen for this evening is Jewish leadership, which is perfect because I think sitting among us this evening are a lot of Jewish leaders, and if not, potential Jewish leaders for sure. Can I just make sure, can everyone hear me in the back over there? Am I audible to that corner? Okay. So when I talk about Jewish leadership, what exactly are we talking about? In other words, hey, we're all Jewish, and everyone in their life does some kind of leadership. But when I say Jewish leadership, what's the first thing that comes to your minds? Yeah? You may have thought of famous Jewish leader through history. You may have thought of your local rabbi, maybe. You may have thought of Moses. Rabbi Kraft, a great Jewish leader for sure. However, that's not what I'm going to talk about this evening, although it may feature. Tonight I want to talk about principles of Jewish leadership, not Jewish leaders, although we'll talk about some of them along the way. I want to talk about, my friends, an idea of what does leadership mean for us as a people, and are there certain principles that we, the Jewish people, over 3,500 years have passed down, which not only we as Jews have got a lot out of, but actually the entire world, leaders throughout world history have taken a lot of this information for themselves. So I'm going to look at 3 out of 7. The other 4 we'll do another time. 3 principles of Jewish leadership is going to be the discussion today. 3 principles. I need to have absolute concentration. You're going to get a lot of chance to talk right after I finish, I promise you. Okay, it goes like this. Principle number 1, we'll look at this evening. In Hebrew, it's called achrayut, responsibility. That is the backbone, the basis to all leadership. Every leadership book is going to talk about it. Let's look at it through a Jewish lens. If we look at the beginning of the Torah, when God created the world, He put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and they had everything they wanted. They had all the food, had all the fruit, they had each other. And yet, God said, there's one thing you cannot do. Eat from this one tree. And as soon as someone is told, this is the one thing they can't do, that's the only thing they want to do, right? And very quickly, they ate from the Eitz Hadat, from the tree of knowledge, the tree of good and bad. And God turns up to Adam and Eve and says, what did you do? I told you, don't eat from the tree. And he turns around and he says, it was my wife, which by the way is a really bad idea. The first mistake in world history was blaming your wife. It did not work. And so he blamed Chava, Eve. And he turned around to Eve and said, what about you? And she said, it's the snake, it wasn't me. It was the Nachash. Everybody is blaming everybody else. The rabbis tell us, had they taken responsibility for their first mistake, they would never have been kicked out of the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, and we would all still be there. And it continues. We know their children Cain, and Cain killed Hevel. And God turned around to Cain and said, what did you do, Ayeka? I can hear your brother's blood calling out for me. And what does Cain say? When God says, hey, what did you do? And Cain turned around and said, Hashomer achenochi. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I responsible for my brother's death? Interestingly, God gives a really interesting answer to that question. What's God's answer to, am I my brother's keeper? Am I responsible for my brother? Does anyone know the answer that God gives? He doesn't. He doesn't even say anything. Now, imagine for a moment that you're God, which for some of you may be easier to imagine than others. But just imagine for a minute. And Cain kills Abel, and he says, am I my brother's keeper? What would you say? How would you respond to that question? Yeah, you are, and why'd you kill him? And instead, God doesn't give an answer. And the reason, says a very famous rabbi called Rabbi Samson Hirsch, who lived in Germany in the 1800s, he gives a fascinating answer, and he says, because if God had answered Cain, try this with my wife. And I said, honey, if you want to see me, take a ticket, I'll see you in 30 days. And you should know, the doctor said, my leg is healing very, very beautifully right now, Baruch Hashem, I'm getting much better. And so she did it. And that one decision made her into one of the greatest Jewish, especially female leaders of world history. I'm going to tell you a name which most of you may have not have heard of. His name is Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon ben Aminadav is one of the secret heroes of Jewish leadership. When the Jewish people left Egypt, 7 days later, they were at the Yam Suf at the Red Sea, and they were surrounded, about to be killed. And you may have read the Torah, the Bible says it very clearly, that Moshe Rabbeinu put his staff out and the water split. But they don't tell you about this guy called Nachshon. Nachshon was the one who made the Red Sea split. How did he do it? He walked into the water, and the water went up to his ankles, and then up to his waist, and up to his chest, and up to his chin, and over his mouth, and it was about to kill him, and then the sea split. Here was the secret. My friends, when it comes to leadership, sometimes it makes no sense, and you just have to jump in. Any great leader, whether it's in business, in commerce, in organizations, in synagogue, leadership is leadership is leadership. It's all the same. They say, I didn't want to do it. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like it, but I had to jump in. And I thought I was going to die, like Esther, like Mordechai, like Nachshon. I led a trip to Israel a few years ago. We went to an army base over the Green Line. It was a very, very dangerous place to be. And the name of this army base was called Nachshoni. Nachshoni. Where did they get the name Nachshoni? I said, David, the head of the base, did you name this base Nachshoni because there was a general called Nachshon? He said, no. We named it after Nachshon ben Aminadav, the one who jumped into the water. We named our base after him because when it comes to leadership in the army, the winner, the survivor, is the one who says, I'm jumping first. And so they named the entire base, and it was a very dangerous place to be. This, my friends, is true Jewish leadership. Okay, principle number 1 is done. 2 more, we'll finish off very quickly. Number 2, principle of Jewish leadership, leaders learn. And they learn and they learn. I read an interview with Bill Gates recently. Bill Gates says he reads 1 book a week. He doesn't let a week go by without at least trying to read most of it. Let me ask you a question. Here's the real question. How many books, and I know the answer, how many books do you think your average American reads a year? How many books do you think the average American reads a year? How many books? Shout it out. 5 books over here. What else do we have? 3 books. 3 books. 3 books. Average. The average American is 10 books. 10, oh my God, 10 books. Wow. The answer, according to Pew Research poll, is, I wish it was 1. I wish. 0.7. Now, I don't understand that. Does that mean they read 3/4 of the book, and they're like, "Chalas, I'm done. Put it away. Save the rest for next year." It makes no sense. Your average American doesn't even read one book. By the way, I always ask this question to Jewish people. The answer was 0.7, less than one book a year. Now, Jewish people here, they're like, it makes no sense. Because I read that every couple of months, a couple of weeks. Because the Jewish average, which I don't have, but I'm going to assume, is way, way more than that. Actually, the entire Torah is read. You were forced, if we go to Bet Knesset, to read at least one book over the entire year cycle, reading the Bible, the Torah. And that's one of the reasons we do it. One of the most powerful positions in the Jewish world, we don't have anymore, but it will return, is the Jewish king, the Melech. The Melech has a job, and his job is to protect the Jewish people. That's his job. Take care of that. He had tremendous power. But let me tell you, the king had a mitzvah to write his own Sefer Torah. Not only that, he would have to carry a book around with him wherever he went. The different opinions. Some say he would carry a Torah with him like this. Some say, no, he's the king. He would have an entourage of people, and they would carry the Torah with him, for him. Some say, no, have you been to Tzfat? And you ever seen those micro writing they have? They write like Shira Shirim or Tehillim or Sefer Bereshit, a very small writing. That's an ancient tradition, and some people tell us they actually used to do that and write Sifrei Torah that were this small. And the king used to wear a Torah around his neck on a chain. I like to call it the original Jewish bling. Before the Chamsa and the Magen David, it could be that people used to walk around wearing a Torah on a chain. Why? Why are we making this great leader do this? Let me share with you a beautiful story. Happened to a friend of mine. A friend of mine was told to take a Torah from Israel to New York, because writing a Torah in Israel is much, much cheaper. And so he took the Torah, and he's walking around the airport holding the Torah. And he wasn't such a religious guy, you know. So he said, you know what? Since I'm carrying a Torah, I'll wear a kippah on my head. I can't walk around with a kippah on my head, right? Holding a Torah. And then he goes into the store, and he sees some food which probably wasn't kosher. He's like, I can't eat this now because I'm holding the Torah. And then he saw a girl sitting there, and he starts to talk to her, and she was of dubious Jewish heritage, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, I can't talk to her because I'm holding the Torah. And then he called his mother, and he starts to argue with her. And he thought, how can I shout at my mother when I'm holding the Torah? And he said his entire personality had changed, and he became a better person because of it. Imagine the President of America carried a constitution with him wherever he went. And if he had a question, went to his pocket, pulled it out and checked it to see if he was against what the American Constitution was telling him. What a way to live. Leaders learn. You know, in this interview, I read about Bill Gates. He said the following thing. He said, people ask me, what do I do? Shh, let me finish another 2 minutes. What do I do with most of my time? What do you think Bill Gates, one of the wealthiest men in the world, not the United States, the world, what do you think he does most of his time? So people ask him that question all the time. And I thought, what was he doing, Bill Gates? He's doing R&D, research and development, thinking up new ideas, creating new products. You know what he does? Listen carefully, all future leaders. Bill Gates says he spends 95% of his time fixing other people's problems. That's what he does. People come to him all day, every day, kvetching. This isn't working, this group isn't listening to me, our sales aren't good, my product's not going well. He said, I wish they would have told me that. I thought leadership was exciting. And I'll be running around and creating things and selling. It's not the way it is. Leadership is fixing other people's challenges. And anyone who's been involved in leadership, that idea should resonate. They should hear that idea in their heads. Because that's who we are. We're fixing and helping other people. That's number 2. We'll finish with number 3. Number 1 we said was responsibility. It started off not good in Bereshit. In Shemot it became much better with Moshe Rabbeinu. And then we saw Esther take responsibility. Oh, by the way, talking about books and reading, if you go to Tel Aviv, you can go to Ben Gurion's house. It's now a museum. It's worth visiting. Ben Gurion's house has 22,000 books that he owned through his life. It's shelves and shelves. Now, I don't know if he read all of them, right? I don't know if it's possible to read that much. But you know what? They were up on the wall, and they were part of his being. And any Jewish home that's worth its weight in salt has books and books everywhere, because the leaders learn. You know, when Joshua was going to enter into Eretz Yisrael for the first time in the Jewish year 2488, 40 years after he left Egypt, he was whipping his sword around. This is Joshua, ready for battle with the people who were in Israel, in Canaan. And he was ready to go to war. And the following thing happened, my friends. Listen carefully. An angel came to Joshua. And Joshua said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm an angel of God." And Joshua freaked out and he fell on the floor. And he said, "What do you do? What do you want from me?" And the angel said, "I'm here to kill you." He said, "I'm sorry?" "I'm here to kill you," said the angel to Joshua. Joshua took over from Moshe Rabbeinu, one of the greatest leaders in Jewish history. And Joshua said, "Why would you kill me? I'm about to take the entire Jewish people into the land of Israel. Why are you threatening me like this?" And he says, "Because you're waving your sword around. But what should I be doing? I'm about to go to battle. I'm about to fight the 7 command 9 nations." And he says, "I'll tell you what you should be doing. You should be learning. You should be reading. You should be studying. Because the battle is fought on the battlefield, but great leaders know that the battle is won through study and understanding and tactic. As King Solomon said, through strategy we go to war. That's not just physical war, it's emotional war. It's spiritual war. It's psychological war. Learning does it. Final idea, and we'll finish in 2 minutes. 2 more minutes, we'll be done, then I'll give you a last question. Number 3, after leaders learn. We don't like it when one person leads. Judaism hates more than anything else when one person has all the power. Look at your organization, right? I speak to Ray Rutenberg, I say let's do something, he says do something, he says, I got to check with my staff, I got to check with Rabbi Kraft. We don't like it when one person has all the power. But Rabbi, did you tell me that we have king? Doesn't the king have all the power? No, he doesn't. First of all, he has a wife, but leaving her aside. He's also got to deal with the priests, the Kohanim. He's got to deal with the Nevi'im, the prophets. If you look in Jewish history, you look in Tanakh and the Bible, most of the fighting is between the king and the prophet. Why? Why the king and prophet fighting? Because the king is like, I got to do this now. And the prophet's like, no. That's actually a really bad idea, because the consequence of your action is going to lead to a bad thing. So if you look in the Bible, there's always fights between the king, the melech, and the navi, the prophet, backwards and forwards. We don't want the power in one place. We want Judaism to be a relationship, not a dictatorship. And so the navi is warning the king, and by the way, many times the king chased the prophet, tried to kill him. King Saul brought Shmuel, the prophet, back from the dead to argue with him. Right? And he didn't finish when he died. He brought him back to life. That's a story in the Bible, by the way, not even the Gemara. And so we don't like it one person. We learn this out from a really unusual place, from God himself. Even God himself doesn't want to lead alone. I'll prove it to you. When God made man, what did he say? 2 words. Naseh Adam. Let us make man. Who exactly is God talking to when he says, let us make man? There's no humans. So who's he having a conversation with? Anyone know the answer to that question? An extra piece of steak if you get the answer to that question right. Who is God consulting when he says, let us make man? Not let thee make man, let us make man. He's talking to the malachim, the angels. Why is God conferring with angels? Does God not know how to make man himself? Right? Just throw some mud together, put a soul inside, massage it, and hello, we have mankind. But no, it doesn't work that way. Why? God makes a point, says Rashi on Chumash, that no one should think they can do it themselves, because even God, who could do whatever he wants himself, even he consults with the angels when it comes to making big decisions. You cannot do it alone. Always find partners in your family, in your business, in your organization, in your synagogue. Those are the three ideas I wanted to share with you. Let's recap very quickly. Number one, all leadership begins with responsibility. Responsibility isn't always so fun, enjoyable. What's the method? Nachshon, jump in. 2, leaders learn. You've got to read, you've got to understand. Reading half a book a year is not sufficient. We see that from the king, from the Melech. We see from Ben Gurion. We see from Menachem Begin. Right? Great leaders will learn and they'll read and they'll study, because the war is won. The leadership role is won not on the battlefield, but in the mind. And finally, never try to do it alone. When there's one person leading, it's a dictatorship and never a relationship, and that's the downfall of society. Here's the question I'm going to leave you for your tables. Are you ready? Say yes, Rabbi. What I want you in your individual hibachi tables, while your guy is making your steaks and all the rest of it, or while you're eating, which I wanted to discuss, and there'll be staff walking around to check you're doing this, is I want you to find a time in your life where you took responsibility. It could be that the responsibility you took wasn't good. The result never worked out. Maybe things worked out swimmingly. Everything was fantastic. It just went so good. I don't care. What happened? How did you end up taking responsibility and nobody else? What were the results? If it went badly, how could you have changed it? Maybe the people at your table could advise you. And if it went well, why did it go well? Is it all about you? Is it the people you're with? The circumstance, the time, the place, the location? That's the discussion I want each and every one of you to have in your beautiful hibachi tables. Thank you all. One more time. The question is, the responsibility you took in your life, whether you're successful or you may be not successful, I don't care, but you took it. Maybe it was uncomfortable, it didn't feel good, but it happened. How did it happen? Who was involved? Thank you all very, very much. I wish you all a beautiful Lag BaOmer. Wish you success and bracha. And when you take on positions of leadership, share it and make it great. Thank you all. Kol tov.